America's best-selling midsize pickup, the Toyota Tacoma, is all new for the 2024 model year. I'm here with the TRD Sport 4x2, and as always, I'm going to go through this thing from the outside in, talk about what it's been like to live with for the past week, and talk about some of the upgrades for this 4th generation. Let's go ahead and take a look. Underneath the hood here, we're looking at 3 different powertrain options. All of them are going to include a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. There's a standard output, there's an iFORCE and an iFORCE Max. The iFORCE Max is going to be the hybrid that's going to be more towards power than efficiency, though, even with the electric motor. This one here is the iFORCE. If you get the TRD Sport, you get the iFORCE powertrain, which means it's going to make 278 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque, and that's only if you are paired to the 8-speed electronically controlled automatic transmission. There is still a 3-pedal option here, even though there was a pretty low take rate for the last generation Tacoma. They have kept it alive, so that's great for enthusiasts. But if you option the 6-speed manual, and you do lose a little bit of power, a little bit of torque, drops down to 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. And when you get the manual, you have to get the 4x4. If you get the automatic, you can get it in 4x2 or 4x4. The new Tacoma is going to share a platform with the Tundra, with the Sequoia, with the upcoming Land Cruiser. It's got a steel ladder frame with laser welds. The upper bits have a lot of aluminum used to help keep the weight down of the truck. Now, a lot of these trucks are getting bigger and bigger. A lot of times you get into a new midsize, it's hard to tell when you're passing another truck if it's a last gen full size or if it's actually another midsize. The Tacoma has stayed pretty close to the dimensions of the last generation. It's grown about an inch in overall length. It's gotten a couple inches taller, a couple inches wider, but still pretty close to the last generation. Now, while the overall length is about the same, the wheelbase has grown quite a bit, which is going to help with those road manners, definitely, because the last Tacoma, the road manners weren't exactly the best, but we'll talk about that a little bit more during the drive. This one's going to sit on 18s with all seasons. Depending on which trim level you get, you're going to get all seasons, you're going to get all terrains, you're going to get rough terrains. There are a couple of different wheel sizes, but the TRD Sport here is going to get these 18s with the all seasons on them. Some of the features here on the outside, other than this great contour through the side here, you do have the touch to lock and touch to unlock, and that is standard. There are really no options on the exterior of this truck, so this is really just as the TRD Sport comes. The mirrors have blind spot monitoring in them, no heat. If you want to option tilt and reverse, you can option that with one of the premium packages, but this one does not have that. They will not auto fold, you have to manually fold, but that's pretty much it from the side here. I do wish that this had the runners on it. You can get runners if you would like. If you go up into the limited trim, it'll have the fancy ones that fold out like it had in that Tundra Capstone if you watched that video. But if you want the fixed one, you can get those added as an accessory. Of course, they never have them on the press vehicles because, well, I think the PR people just like watching short people try to climb up into a truck. For the front end here, as I start to get poured on, they took a lot of design cues from the Toyota Hilux, which we don't get here in the US, but that is where a lot of the inspiration came from here. We got the vent going through here, help cool down the engine. Love the contour through here. Got real venting going on through the middle, but fake vents for fake air down on the sides here. We've got LED headlights, LED daytime running lights, LED fog lights, all standard on the TRD Sport, as well as this massive air dam down here, help prevent some of that lift, especially when you're cruising on the highway, since this is the more road-focused version of the Tacoma. Back end here, pretty nice and simple. We got the backup camera sticking out there. We do have a class 4 hookup here, a class 4 trailer hitch. You can tow up to 6,500 pounds with this one. And we've got these high jack points, which is pretty cool. I haven't actually seen that built into a truck before. So if you need to get the jack in there, you don't have to worry about rubbing up against the bottom of the bumper or anything like that. There's actually a slot for it. That's pretty cool. The tailgate here is manual, but it does open slowly, so that's nice. It's not going to smash you on the knee or smash you on the chest or whatever. Now you can option a power tailgate. The power tailgate also, if you want to close it, you can just use your knee and pick it up a little bit and it'll do the rest on its own, which is a pretty cool feature if you've got your hands full or something. But this one just has the manual tailgate. Got the bed lights. We got these cleats in here that you can slide back and forth if you need to tie something down, as well as your standard kind of tie downs going on, your hooks all around. You can get a 400 watt AC inverter for this one. If you have the iFORCE Max powertrain, then you get a 2400 watt AC inverter, but the TRD Sport doesn't offer the iFORCE Max, so this one you can only get that 400 watt. And a note about the bed size here. This is a little bit deeper than the last generation, so the 5-foot bed from last year versus the 5-foot bed from this year, you can actually fit a lot more volume-wise. On the inside here, they did a great job of just keeping things simple for the most part. I wish that you could tuck this iPad away. It looks so out of place. But outside of that, everything is simple. It kind of gives me Bronco vibes. I'm probably not supposed to say that. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying that. But it feels spacious. It feels a little more spacious than the last Tacoma. It feels, it just feels like everything is very well laid out. It's modernized a little bit without getting overcomplicated outside of the giant iPad going on here. Some of the materials here, I will note, like, this is a pre-production car, so you'll get better doors than what I've got here. But outside of that, the material choices, they're simple. You got plastics everywhere, but it's fine. This, at least they didn't use the gloss black all over. This is a truck. It can get dirty, it can get scratched up. It's not precious. If you do want something a little nicer, you can option some nicer seats. You can get the Softex leather seats. Actually, there are quite a few options on this. You can upgrade the seats to those Softex leather seats or leatherette with the 8-way power adjustable and the lumbar support. You can get the JBL speaker sound system. You can get a moonroof in here. There are quite a few options. You can get heated and ventilated seats, but this one is pretty bare bones here. The only upgrade on this one here is, well, we've got the heated seats and we've got the bigger screen. Normally this would be an 8-inch screen, but we'll go through everything here. So the TRD Sport is only available in a double cab like this. And the double cab actually has a little bit more room than the last generation did. It's still pretty tight. I mean, this is still a mid-sized truck. My kids are real tight back there. Their legs are pretty close to the seats up here. My wife sat in the front seat and was pretty uncomfortable just because it is very tight. That's just a problem with mid-sized trucks. It's just not a lot of room. If you're gonna have people in the back a lot, you're gonna wanna have a full-size truck. But it is a little more spacious than the last generation. No real complaints for anything back there other than those seats are really hard to get in because you do have to fold the seat down in order to latch in the anchor on the child seat. But they do fold down. They also fold up. There's some storage underneath those seats. So a nice little extra bit of storage that can be out of the way and safe from the rain and the elements and all of that. They've got some cup holders. They've got some USBs back there. Pretty bare bones, gets the job done though. So the TRD Sport is only available in the double cab. But if you are in one of the other trim levels that offers the extra cab, that replaces the access cab with the 4-door, the sort of 2 and 2 half-door situations. Now it's just a straight 2-door, and the back seats are not seats. The back seats are just a shelf for storage. And so that is actually something that a lot of other companies are dropping. So it's cool to see that Toyota has kept that around. The Colorado, the Canyon, the Ranger are all only double cabs and short boxes. But again, TRD Sport, double cab only. But up here in the front, we've got the fabric seats bolstered well. There are a couple different options here for color schemes, but they're pretty neutral outside of this like blue stuff going on. But generally speaking, the seats are simple. They're comfortable enough. Probably wouldn't want a road trip in something like this. Steering wheel nice and big, well laid out. We do have all the buttons there for your driver's assist, for controlling your infotainment. Nice and easy to use. Everything is buttons and switches that are easy to figure out. We have stalks on both sides, unlike the Colorado and the the Canyon. You actually have a stalk for your light, your auto high beams on the side, your bed shower, aka the bed lights over here on the side. The gauge cluster here is well done. It's digital. I like the little gears, the way that they did the gears here, just for like a nice sort of interesting visual thing. There's tons of information in there, and you can actually have 3 different preset options, but lots of information in there. It does get a little cluttered if you have all of your driver's assist on all at once, but it is well laid out. The graphics are good. It doesn't get too cluttered most of the time. It's really just if you have like everything on all at once. There's no heads-up display in this one, but you can actually option a heads-up display. The giant iPad I mentioned, this is the 14-incher. It's standard, would be the 8-inch, but there's lots of good information in here. Your profile, your driver's assist, there's navigation in here. If you set up your profile in this truck here, you can get into another Toyota that has the latest system, and it will carry your profile over. So that's pretty cool for all your settings in here, for all your vehicle settings and stuff. Lots of knobs down here. We have your HVAC is still knobs. Your volume is a giant knob. It's easy to grab if you have gloves on or something. Everything's still easy to grab. These little knurled switches that go up and down for your HVAC, nice and easy to use. Little screen down here. There's a spot for your phone, even if you don't have the wireless charger, but you can option a wireless charger. Well, you got a USB slot up there, USB-C, you got a couple USB-Cs down here. You got your cigarette lighter down there. You got lots of space, you know, rubberized stuff going on for whether you want to put your cups in here, your phone in there, or your keys, whatever you want to put around here. All of this stuff is rubberized, which is nice. Electronic parking brake, you got your drive mode control down here, as well as your tow mode. Auto start stop is here, though it hasn't really been intrusive at all, but you can get a digital mirror as well. I would definitely recommend looking into that, because especially these trucks keep getting bigger and bigger, even though this one actually is about the same size as the last Tacoma. But you know, when you're high up like this, you got the bed in the back, it does get kind of hard to see. No 360 view here on this one, though you can option that, which is definitely, again, a nice feature. All the camera views, especially with this being, you know, being a truck, and especially if you're going to be off-roading, then really you get all the camera views. You can see what's going on at each wheel. The interior is simple. They kept everything simple. They kept everything easy to use. Easy to access, really well done. Interior, just not a ton of space back there, and I wish that this could kind of be tucked away. I've been daily driving this Tacoma for the last week, and luckily there have been some big improvements in terms of road going manners here for the Tacoma. The mid-size truck segment is not exactly known for being the most comfortable ride here on the regular road, but they have made some big improvements. The longer wheelbase definitely helps quite a bit, but the biggest thing is going to be the suspension updates. We have a coil spring multi-link rear suspension that replaces the leaf spring suspension that was on the last generation. Now that is not going to be in every trim level, but it's going to be in a number of the trim levels, and that has helped immensely. Now I do want to temper expectations a little bit. If you're coming from the last gen Tacoma, if you're coming from another like older mid-sized truck, it's gonna feel like it's super smooth and a really, really great improvement in ride quality. If you're coming from like a sedan or a smaller crossover or something, it's not gonna feel quite as comfortable. But for the mid-sized truck segment, this is definitely a big improvement. I do wish it had a little bit more spring to it. I noticed like with the Colorado and with the Canyon, where they have a little bit of an extra lift, you get a lot more bounce, but it does help absorb some of the shock a little bit more when you run over some imperfections in the road. But again, between this and the last gen Tacoma, huge improvement here. One of the other huge updates, of course, is the powertrain. In the past, you could get a V6, but now there is only the 4-cylinder. There are a few different versions of the 4-cylinder. If you really want a ton of power, you get that iFORCE Max, but not available here in the TRD Sport. With this being a turbocharged engine, it does mean that you have your torque available down nice and low in the rev range. So your peak hits around 1700 RPM, which is really nice and low, which means that this thing can move out of its own way very quickly. The V6 version of the Tacoma, as much as I love a naturally aspirated engine, it felt really slow, especially off the line. Here, that power, that torque is just so readily available down low in the rev range that it can really move quickly. The one place where it doesn't move particularly great is when you're going uphill. Here being the two-wheel drive version, you got the back wheels trying to shove all this weight up a hill. I have noticed that it struggles a little bit. I imagine that the 4x4 version is going to be a little bit better at that, but generally speaking, on the road, it can move perfectly fine. And we even have a sport mode here. There's an eco, there's a normal, and a sport mode. No off-road mode or anything, because again, this is the road going version, this being the TRD Sport, but some of the other trim levels will get you some more sort of off-roady features. But if you pop it into sport, it'll move a little bit more quickly. It'll change the shift points a little bit to make it a little bit more aggressive. I haven't noticed a huge difference between the different modes, honestly. And there is also a tow and haul mode, which is a separate button than the other drive modes. So if you are towing something, then that'll change the shift points as well to sort of account for what you are towing. This transmission, this one is the 8-speed electronically controlled automatic transmission. Had no issues with the transmission choices. A couple of times maybe where I would shift a little bit earlier, I'd downshift a little bit earlier, but that tends to be true just in general because I drive a little bit more aggressively than a truck wants to drive. But it's, you know, it's typically going for efficiency. Even in sport mode, it's not super aggressive. And I love that we still have the option for a manual transmission, so you can get this TRD Sport in the manual, but it will only be 4x4. You cannot get it in the 4x2. Not really the end of the world. Personally, I'd want to get the 4x4 anyway if I was going to buy a big truck like this. And that will come with auto rev matching, which Toyota always lets you turn the rev matching off, but it's nice that it does have the option if you're somebody that's maybe just learning manual, or if you're getting lazy and you just want it to rev match for you. I mentioned that it does have that towing mode. There's a trailer blind spot monitoring. You get trailer cameras and trailer sway control, trailer brake control. There's some extra stuff that you can get here if you do want to tow. Again, 6,400 pounds for towing capacity, 1,700 for the payload capacity back there. I mentioned that trailer blind spot monitoring. This one does have the regular blind spot monitoring. It has the Toyota 3.0 safety system, which is a great system. It's got blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. It's got the pedestrian monitoring. It's got the radar cruise with full stop and go. It's got the lane centering, which works great. The 3.0 system is pretty good for that. So if you're cruising on the highway and you want it to stay centered in your lane, and you pop that on, it will just help kind of keep you from drifting a little bit, which hopefully you're not drifting anyway, but it does help with fatigue. Helps when you get a little bit distracted by someone. In terms of fuel economy here, mixed city and highway driving, I'm getting about 19.5 miles per gallon. That is honestly much better than I expected. That's pretty good for a mid-sized truck. I think the Canyon, the Colorado, I was getting about 18, so 19.6 here. Pretty solid in terms of fuel economy for a mid-sized truck. Now, I mentioned this one is the 4x2. You can also get a 4x4 version. Either way, you do get an automatic LSD in the back. If you get the 4x4, it is a part-time four-wheel drive system with a 2-speed transfer case. But again, you get that automatic LSD in the back either way. And this week, even with the 4x2, I have not had any problems with traction. It's been rainy. It's been not great here in terms of weather. It's been a little bit on the chilly side. I've had zero problems with traction, period. So good choice of tires here. Great traction management system going on. At the end of the day here, America's best-selling midsize pickup has only gotten better. The Tacoma has improved greatly in terms of ride quality. It has improved a ton in terms of just features, feature availability. You can actually make this like almost like a luxury truck, just strange in a midsize with the moonroof, the adaptive variable suspension, all leather seats. You can make it a really nice truck. They've kept the manual around for those hardcore enthusiasts. I would definitely love to drive the manual one, and it's surprisingly efficient. It's roomy in here for a midsize. They really have done a great job on this thing. I wish this iPad would just go away. But other than that, I really enjoyed my time with this truck this week. Would definitely recommend checking one out. Of course, the expected reliability is great for this, as is the resale value. Just the Tacoma just resales so well. So those things are just kind of icing on the cake. I would definitely recommend checking this out if you just want like a simple truck that looks simple, looks pretty basic on the inside, but it does everything that you need it to do. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to hit all the YouTube buttons down below. I hate to say it, but it does help me out. Hit the like, hit the share, do all the things. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your friend's mom to watch all of my videos. And if I missed anything, leave a comment down below, and I will see you next time.